Look, I don't care about the Oscars. I'm an intellectual. I value art, and I do not need others to validate that. Plus, everyone knows Oscars are all about campaigns and so little about the movies themselves. It's just Hollywood tapping itself on the back. So that's simply why do not care about the Oscars, and I'll never care about them. But also, that were something nominating things. Did they actually nominate what? Tony Collette and Harry Carey. What about Lupita and Green Oscar? Did you know So, why do we care about the tiny golden man? Well, almost every industry has some sort of awards to celebrate excellence in the field, right? But when the field itself is as public as Hollywood, the awards mean so much more. The Oscars are known and watched all over the globe. And Oscar voters, by judging and awarding art, in a way decide what is worth watching, what topics are worth discussing. Much like how when museums decide what art they want to host, they in a way decide what's good art or what's good taste. So watching the Oscars, it can be interesting to think about what topics are being discussed, what topics are relevant in certain eras, and how that changes through the years, right? But almost no one is watching Oscars because of that. At least not consciously. And that's certainly not why I watch every single video by Oscar expert and Razor Bro here. Some people like watching their favorite celebrities walk the carpet and interact with each other. And that's why they love Oscars. Some like the monologues and the jokes. And others like predicting and guessing what's gonna win, right? It's like sports, but actually fun. But at the end of the day, Oscars are just harmless fun as long as you don't let them dictate what you like. Because ultimately, all the things I said in the beginning are actually true. Sorry about this. It's like the second year I'm actually devastated that Pursuit of a Lady on Fire is not at the Oscars. So with that all out of the way, the next Oscars are like in a week. So let's talk about who I want to win, who I think will win. Though I'm not gonna talk about all the categories, just the ones that are actually fun. There still are some movies that I still haven't seen, among which the most prominent ones are probably Mank and One Night in Miami, and I haven't seen them because they seem extremely boring. Let's begin with Best Picture, where the nominees are The Father, Judas and the Black Messiah, Mank, Minari, Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of Chicago 7. I will say that two of my favorite movies of 2020, which were Promising Young Woman and Minari, they both got nominated for Best Picture, which is pretty rare, and I obviously wanted them both to win, but I slightly prefer Promising Young Woman, to be honest. But as of who I think will win, and this would actually be my third choice, and that will be Nomadland. That's my prediction. Nomadland stars Frances McDormand and is about a woman who lives in a van and travels across America. And it is probably one of the most beautiful movies I've seen, both in terms of aesthetics and in terms of its message and its themes. And while we're talking about Nomadland, let's move on to the director's section. where the nominees are Thomas Winterberg for Another Round, David Fincher for Mank, Lia Iseng-Chung for Minari, Chloe Zhao for Nomadland, and Emerald Fennell for Promising Young Woman. And here my prediction and who I want to win lines up perfectly, and for both it's Chloe Zhao, and as I mentioned when I talked about the best picture, Nomadland is just such a beautiful movie, and I think it deserves all the praise that it's getting. Now let's talk about the Best Actress category, where the nominees are Viola Davis for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Andra Day for United States vs. Billie Holiday, Vanessa Kirby for Pieces of a Woman, Frances McDormand for Nomadland, and Carey Mulligan for Promising Young Woman. I haven't seen the United States vs. Billie Holiday, and I don't think Andra Day has a chance to win this award. And my prediction here and who I want to win also lines up, and for both it's Carey Mulligan. I think her performance was something so special, and I've loved Carey Mulligan's work in so many other projects like Wildlife, etc. Let's move on to the Best Actor category, where the nominees are Riz Ahmed for Sound of Metal, Chadwick Boseman for Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Anthony Hopkins for The Father, Gary Oldman for Mank, and Steven Yeun for Minari. My prediction here is Chadwick Boseman. I don't think anyone else really has a chance, but actually my pick as who I want to win is Anthony Hopkins. I thought his performance was the best among these. The Father is about a man who is dealing with dementia, and it has some of the best acting I've ever seen in any piece of media. And even though Anthony Hopkins already has a couple of Oscars, I really think this performance is the best among the bunch. Now let's talk about Best Supporting Actress, where nominees are Maria Bakalova for Borat's subsequent movie film, Glenn Close for Hillbilly Elegy, Olivia Colman for The Father, Amanda Seyfried for Mank, and Ya Jung-yeon for Minari. Here, my prediction and pick also lines up, and it's both Ya Jung-yeon for Minari. Minari is about a Korean family who's immigrated to US and is trying to live out the American dream in Arkansas. This movie is also really beautiful. It can be kind of slow for some. It's kind of slice of life movie. If you love that genre, I think you will appreciate this movie. And it has some amazing performances. And the main kid is very adorable. For Best Supporting Actor, we've got Sacha Baron Cohen for Trial of Chicago 7, Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah, Leslie Odom Jr. for One Night in Miami, Paul Raci for Sound of Metal, and Lakeith Stanfield for Judas and the Black Messiah. I think here also my pick and my prediction are going to be same, and it's going to be Daniel Kaluuya for Judas and the Black Messiah. I really love this performance, and Daniel Kaluuya has had so many amazing roles over the last couple of years, like in Widow, in Get Out, obviously, and I've loved him as an actor ever since I saw Black Mirror's episode 2, 15 Million Merits. Let's move on to screenplay categories, and we'll start with adapted screenplay, where the nominees are Borat's subsequent movie film, The Father, Nomadland, One Night in Miami, and The White Tiger. I think my prediction here is going to be Nomadland. I think that movie is going to sweep the awards. However, my pick here, who I would want to win, is going to be The Father. This was such a beautifully devastating movie, and the screenplay and the editing are, along with acting, its best features, I think. Now let's talk about the original screenplay, where the nominees are Judas and the Black Messiah, Minari, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal, and The Trial of Chicago 7. This is one of the toughest categories to choose who I want to win, because all of these screenplays are so good, but I think Promising Young Woman is going to be who I want to win, as like this was my favorite movie of the year, and I don't think it's going to get the best picture. So I wanted to get rewarded at least for the screenplay, which is really great. Promising Young Woman is about um, a woman named Cassie, played by Carey Mulligan, who goes on this revenge spree kind of. But this movie supports the genre in many ways, and it's very original, very entertaining, and its themes are very important, I think. And lastly, let's talk about the best animated film, where the nominees are Onward, Over the Moon, a Shaun the Sheep movie, Armageddon, Soul, and Wolfwalkers. There is no doubt in my mind that Soul is going to win this award, and that's an amazing movie. However, I didn't think when I watched Soul, I didn't think anything was going to surpass that. When I watched the Wolfwalkers, I was proven wrong. That Wolfwalkers has one of the most beautiful animations I've ever seen, and its story transported me back to childhood. Yeah, Soul tackles very interesting and complicated themes, and I love that for Soul, but I just prefer Wolfwalkers. So Wolfwalkers is going to be who I'm rooting for, and Soul is going to be my prediction. So that's all the awards I'm going to be predicting. On April 26th, Monday, I'm going to find out how much of this I got right? So see you guys then. Goodbye.